Hello everyone, my name is Lisa Boson and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to talk about umami. And what is umami? It's kind of like that je ne sais quoi that gives things a kind of meaty flavor. You get this sometimes if you have a really well prepared mushroom, and a lot of people go, oh, that tastes like mushroom. I mean, it tastes like beef. That's what we're looking for. And what we want to do is create that, and through adding some components to the dish to bring that to light. Let's get started. Let's learn how to build umami. Now, this session is a test session, so you can certainly kind of walk through this, but hopefully what you'll do is maybe put this on your phone and walk through the steps with me so that you can learn how to do this. We have 30,000 taste buds, so what works for me and what I put into this dish in proportions may not work for you, and that's totally okay. Some people think a recipe is tried and true, but honestly, it's just a base for you to work with. There's absolutely no way one food or one recipe or one creation is going to work for everyone across the universe. So take this as a good baseline and something that you can work with to say, hey, this is how I can make a dish fabulous for me and my family and my loved ones, friends, significant others, the gamut of who you're going to present this dish to, even if it's just for you. I think that's okay. So I'm going to switch cameras now and let's go to the stovetop. So what we're going to be starting with is just a base. And what we're doing is we're not creating a cuisine-related broth. What we're wanting to do is create a base broth that has umami in it, and then you can take it and you can play with it however you want. If you want to make a Greek dish, a Spanish dish, an Asian dish. What many people find is when they create their own vegetable broth, and I do that with I make a lot of my own vegetable broth, or you buy it off the shelf in a box. It has a very vegetal taste. It's, vegetable broth. You might expect it to taste vegetable. And but sometimes you don't want just it to taste vegetables, because vegetables actually are sweet. We think about what we might put in a vegetable broth, and it might be carrots and celery and parsley. It might give it some herby. You might do some aromatics with garlic and salt, and onions. Shallots, that's perfectly fine. Some people do turnips, not my thing, but it's going to have some vegetables in it. And so what we want to do is transform that into something that maybe has a little bit more enhanced flavor with umami, which comes from glutamates. And so first of all, I just heated this up and I just want to taste it really quick. It's kind of where I think it will be. A couple things. Also, this is helpful because you can also get like low sodium vegetable broth. When I make my own, I do like to try to use less sodium. Not always 100, but percent on doing that. But I'm trying to use lower salt or a salt replacement. So some of the products we're going to be using, and we're going to be using something called I think it's Maggi, M-A-G-G-I. It's a fermented product. And we're going to be using Marmite, which is another fermented product. And there's the operative word here is fermented. There's organic, vegan Worcestershire sauce. These are all options for you to use. A soy sauce, okay. And then I have porcini mushroom powder, but what you really want is just a mushroom powder. You can get some on the internet, and people, I do have people say, "Whoa, gosh, these mushrooms, or dried mushroom powder is expensive." But if in your non-plant days you would spend $10 on a piece of meat, and it may be good or not. So I encourage people to spend $10 and go get a package of mushroom powder on the internet, because it's going to last you for years. It doesn't go bad. Another option is you can take dried mushrooms and just grind them up in a coffee grinder. That works out fine. Actually, right now Costco has these on super cheap sale. So that's an option. So basically what you want to do with this test is see what happens every time you add a little drop of these umami glutamate ingredients. So the first thing is, so you can either measure it, which is fine. I have this super cute, missing one. Oh, there it is. It's a smidge, a pinch, and a dash spoon, because we're talking super small increments. We're not putting a teaspoon of anything in these. we're going to be adding a dash, a smidge, or a pinch at a time. So I'm just going to, I know what I can dash and what I can't. So one option, I'm going to move this over, and I can do this because I have an induction cooktop. I don't suggest you doing this at home, but I can do this. So one thing you can do is you can, if you're just really want to be specific, I have people that want to do that. You can just put literally, this is a smidge. It's maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, maybe, and add it in. I mean, it's just a couple of drops. So we aren't talking massive quantities here, okay? You want to stir it in and just taste it and go, oh, wow, that was kind of cool. Again, this is another one of these products that lasts a long time, but it is a flavor enhancer. And it does have glutamates in it. It has wheat gluten and wheat. I know there's people that are like, ugh, wheat gluten. Vegan is not, you know, gluten-free. Acetic acid, some artificial flavorings, and then it's in wheat bran. I kind of did a high level on that one. But it doesn't need a whole lot. So it's a fermented product, and you can mixture and you can use that. So the next thing, like, okay, that tastes pretty good. Well, you can just keep adding magi, and it may keep tasting like magi. So what I like to do is then, and what I've discovered in some of the other classes I've taken, is that umami flavors compound each other. So you can keep adding magi to this, and that's fine. It might work. You might be fine with this. That's fine. But this is an experiment. So now we're going to do Marmite yeast extract, and we're going to use a super small amount again. I'm not going to reuse that spoon because I like to use my grandmother's, you know, teaspoons for things, and I can eyeball it. And I'm literally, it's gooey, it's sticky, so be aware of that. I'm going to just literally use that much. It's maybe 1/4 teaspoon. Maybe. And I'm going to scoop that in there. Okay. Another fermented product. This one has some different ingredients in it. All plant-based. If you eat it, some people eat this actually in Europe on toast. Okay, whatever works for you. It adds oomph. Put the oomph in your breakfast. Wake up your taste buds. It's a yeast extract fortified with B vitamins. I'm just literally reading off while I'm stirring. Barley, wheat, oats, rye, vegetable, juice, concentrate, all the B vitamins, maybe some celery. Anyway, I don't really eat this, you know, by itself. I use it to do exactly what I'm doing here, to play around with the dish and see if I can't make it taste better. So after you add, so now we have magi and we have our Marmite. And it's not huge amounts, and this stuff lasts forever. So again, you might go, I'm not spending, you know, $8 on something. You will if you use it. It takes a whole year for you to use it up. Okay, so now we have just a little more breadth and scope on this. The next thing that we can use, we can add in, is using my grandmother's spoons here and a stir. Literally tiniest of the tiniest amounts. And you wouldn't think that, you know, maybe 1/4 teaspoon, 1/3 of a teaspoon. I only have a cup of broth in here too. It's going to make a huge difference. But stir that in, and you're going to go, oh my God, this smells so musty. Yeah, mushrooms are musty. They're going to be that when you're drying them. But we're looking for that that thing in our brain that goes, oh wow, this is tasting good. It's tasting meaty. And so what we're trying to do is work with our brain and its regulation for wanting to taste glutamate. And our brain going, oh yeah, that's definitely meaty. So what I've done, even with just these 3 products, is taking a kind of vegetal taste and enhancing it and getting it a little more beefy flavor. Now, you might play around with this and say, well, I might reverse it. I might try the porcini powder first, and that might be good for you, and that's totally fine. This is something for you to play with. This is just a science experiment because really, that is what this is all about, is chemistry. That's exactly all that cooking is. It's really chemistry. So I'm going to do one little bit of the organic Worcestershire sauce. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It is vegan as well. And so this is maybe half a teaspoon. Okay. And again, you might go, I'm not even going to do that much. That's fine. And that, it goes back to, you don't know exactly what it does, but it's just broader. It stays on your tongue longer. It gets to all the taste buds. And so now we have, I didn't do the soy sauce, but that's always option 5. Actually, let's just go ahead and do soy sauce. I've got like 6 spoons going here. I tend to use soy sauce last because I don't want, I'm going to do it over my little plate here. I don't want it to go Asian. I think that's kind of a, I just don't want, and I watch the salt, so I use very little. So literally I'm using smidge, a dash. I don't even, let's see if it'll even fit into the purported, this is the dash for fun. Okay, so it's about 2/3 of a dash, so probably a smidge. Okay, it just added a little more depth without going Asian, so I think that's good. So like if I was going to use this for something, all these 3 are probably my go-tos: Marmite, Magi, and porcini powder. And when I've added all these, they all have some salt. Soy sauce being the most, Magi for having 400 milligrams per teaspoon. So I barely used half a teaspoon, so maybe 100 milligrams. Porcini powder has no salt. I think that's a fun one of why to use that one. If you're watching your salts, and gosh, even the vegan Worcestershire sauce only has 150 milligrams per tablespoon. So you have lots of options that will work for you. You may or may not be watching your salt that much. You may say, I kind of like a little vegetal, a little tomato. That's totally fine. But even within that, look how much more beautiful that broth even visually looks like a beef broth. So I will tell you, there are some very good non-beef broths out there. But sometimes you don't use the non-beef broth, or you may not have it in your in your pantry. But I do like keeping these products because you can do this. You can do it in some water and then add it to a dish where you're like, oh, just something's just not there. Or maybe you've got a sauce. You can add maybe a dash of Magi and a little bit of Marmite, and it just takes it to a whole new level. But doing it in just some basic broth hopefully will help you test your own palate to see, gosh, what will work. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, kind of like a little test session on how to play around to get some more umami glutamates into a base dish. And you can use this technique as you work with other cooking assembly dishes that you're doing at home. So it never hurts to keep these 5 ingredients in your pantry. They're very shelf stable, and they will give you just a wonderful way to add some depth and that kind of brain thing that says, oh man, this just tastes so much better. It kind of tastes like beef. And you don't have you didn't put like a ton of mushrooms in something. This is all about flavor, not so much about texture and the texture of beef. This is really triggering the flavors, your brain to assess the flavors. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I've got some other videos. The chanterelle video seems to be extremely popular, along with, how to cook lentils, how to cut a mango. That was a big one. But I'm going to be doing some short videos this year, just like today, on how you can just add some flavor to your dishes. I just get a lot of people saying, plant-based is boring, it's not tasty, it doesn't taste like meat. Today, you have a technique on how to make your dishes more beefy. So thanks for joining me, and let's just eat more plants.